welcome back to DBD TV, the Dragon Ball Dissection spin-off where I compared the original manga to the changes made when it was adapted for animation. I've already done 4 videos and I still have so much more to talk about. So let's not waste any time. Off to the filler! There are a handful of minor but weird Mr. Satan moments that stand out to me. When he and the puppy are wandering through the ruined earth, Satan keeps thinking about Boo. He misses him, he flashes back to him, he sees his face in clouds. This is one of those examples of added scenes where it comes across less like fleshing things out than it does overselling something without thinking of the implications. And I'm not talking about romantic or sexual implications. Watching these scenes, I found myself wondering, does this guy have any other friends? He's the world champion. He's rich and famous. Why, in his most desperate moments, is he reminiscing about this mass-murdering bubblegum guy he's known for a few hours instead of, I don't know, his missing daughter who might have been killed by said bubblegum guy? It feels like a lack of creativity to me, simplifying this relationship so much it loses what made it special in the first place. And that problem doesn't even begin here. You might remember I spent a decent amount of time talking about the ridiculous number of activities Satan gets up to with Boo before the gunman shoots him down. Would you believe I actually didn't cover it all then? Amid all the home repairs, bathing, and cooking, Mr. Satan finds the earlier picture he took of Boo. This is the one where he tricked Boo into a pose that made it look like Satan had beaten him. He feels guilty about it and tears it up. Seriously? If there is any reason Satan should feel guilty about that picture, it's because he was planning to use it to once again lie to the people of Earth. Why should he feel guilty about deceiving Boo? Their entire relationship has been predicated on mutually taking advantage of each other. I'm not saying 2 wrongs make a right here, but Boo was keeping him as a slave under the threat of death. Even though these terrible scenes are intended to show Boo including Satan as an equal, I think these two have more ground to cover before they can wash away all of that. That's another reason the pacing doesn't work. The manga plants the seeds of them becoming friends, but doesn't dwell on it long enough for the obvious questions to surface. Them rebuilding the house makes you wonder, is Mr. Satan just planning to live there? The manga gives me just enough to make me believe this toxic relationship could develop into a friendship by the end. The animated series adding scenes does nothing but round the hard edges so much that Mr. Satan comes across as saccharinely devoted to Boo to a degree that makes very little sense. Speaking of Satan, go to hell. I mean, let's check out hell. Together, like a family. What I'm talking about, of course, is the presence of past villains. When Goku and Vegeta begin their final battle against Majin Buu, we get added scenes of dead villains watching the fight in hell. It's a charming callback, but makes no sense. This is not something the Boo Arc specifically messes up, but it is here once again. But given how focused the Boo Arc is on the nature of death and crossing between the worlds of the living and dead, it is crazy that the animated staff would go out of their way to remind people how much they've screwed this up. I mean, this is a story that at the same time reminds us that Vegeta only has a body because Enma kept it around just in case. Yeah, this seems like a good time to show viewers that Frieza and Cell have bodies. That makes sense. Makes even more sense that they're treated better than Bluma, Chi-Chi, and Videl. Sure. Dragon Ball's afterlife must be run by Klingons given how death and honorable combat seems to be the only way to get a decent reward. I will give these scenes credit where they're due, though. I think it's cute that Bobby D returns, also in hell, to try to lord over the other denizens that they're watching his Majin Buu, and they should respect him for that. The new guy in prison has to cement his reputation, I get it. When I was in prison, I got people to respect me by claiming I invented those pop sockets on phone cases. I was a hero. As is often the case, though, with these recurring cutaways, there isn't always consistency between episodes. On some days, Bobby D is secretly wishing for Goku to win to get back at Boo for killing him. Other times, he's rooting for Boo. There's just always something, isn't there? Something I almost forgot to mention because it's easy to take for granted is fusion voices. Obviously, there is no audio component in a manga, leaving the question of what combined characters would sound like. When Piccolo assimilated other characters, the resulting Piccolo was just Piccolo, and used Piccolo's voice. But what does a Gotenks sound like? Well, according to the animated series, Gotenks' voice is Trunks' and Goten's voices overlapping. That was actually Toriyama's suggestion, to have both actors record their lines. It's a unique experience that lends a further distinctiveness beyond the visual design. And it doesn't just apply to fusion. Vegito is likewise both Goku's and Vegeta's voices. Interestingly though, he's the only Boo Arc Potara merging that follows the pattern of fusion. When Kaioshin and Kibito merge, the resulting character only speaks with Kaioshin's voice. The elder Kaioshin likewise only speaks with a single voice, despite him being the combination of a Kaioshin and a witch. If he'd had a combined voice, that would have given away the reveal that he is a combination character. And it would have required anyone in charge knowing he was a combined character in the first place. I doubt even Toriyama knew. I don't have too much to say about animation studios this time around. Most of the changes that had occurred by the end of the Cell arc continue here. As I said then, Nakatsuru Katsuyoshi officially took over as the character designer at the beginning of the Boo arc. Last House and Studio Live continue to be the weak links. Added to the rotation for the Boo arc are K Production and Kino Production. I say this in the most complimentary fashion I can. Neither studio really stands out to me. I doubt I could pick them out of a lineup like I can with the longtime studios, but that just means they do a good job of looking like Dragon Ball. And that's my biggest takeaway for the art and animation of the Boo arc. I've spent many years in DBD TV recreating my manga openings, and in so many cases I came away thinking just how much better Toriyama's art looks than the animated version. But with Toriyama's burnout seemingly setting in, and with the animated series bringing in enough good studios to handle the workload, there are many cases where I think animated Boo arc looks far better than the manga. Between Studio Carpenter, Studio Cockpit, K Production, and Kino Production, late DBZ is just dominated by K-sound studios. Perhaps that's why, in Part 2, I mistakenly attributed Vidal's flight to Studio Carpenter when it was actually Studio Cockpit. I knew that. I swear I did. I've mentioned that Cockpit is one of my favorite studios, and this is one of my favorite episodes they did. I can see what it looks like in my mind's eye without having to watch it. The names are just so similar, I didn't notice that I had written and spoken Carpenter until it was pointed out to me. You guys also pointed out to me last time that there is filler in the Cell arc where number 17 fights underwater. So number 18 claiming here that she can't handle water does indeed seem to be the anime contradicting itself. Thanks! There's that moment in the series where Tenshinhan suddenly comes back, is beaten up, and is then pretty much never seen again. It's already weird in the manga. He basically just disappears after Goku teleports away to merge with Vegeta. Later on, we see Dende, Mr. Satan, and the puppy following along. So, what happened to Tenshinhan? Did they just leave him there, unconscious? What jerks! Well, the animated version adds a bit before they leave where the puppy alerts them to Tenshinhan, and Dende heals him. Then in the next episode, we see Dende, Mr. Satan, and the puppy following. So, what happened to Tenshinhan? This is one of those fun things where their attempt to fix something actually breaks it in a new way. The anime addresses the problem, but all it accomplishes is calling attention to it being a problem in the first place, whereas you might not even notice the problem in the manga. As someone whose best intentions seem to always make things worse, I sympathize with them heavily. I'm doing the best I can, okay? That section of the story is heavily padded, which is weird given that it was around the time the manga was ending. Therefore, there was no longer a danger in catching up to it. Maybe they still needed more time to prep for Dragon Ball GT. Again, I can relate. So in the manga, Goku finds Vegeta, gives him the speech, and Vegeta puts the earring on. In the anime, Vegeta refuses for an entire episode, and they spend all that time yelling at each other while simultaneously getting beaten up by Boo. In the manga, Vegito immediately transforms into a Super Saiyan. In the anime, Vegito spends an entire episode fighting before he gets around to that. In fact, what was a brisk 2-chapter fight in the manga somehow drags on for 4 full episodes. Heaven help me. In the manga, after Vegito is absorbed, Goku and Vegeta find their friends almost immediately. In the anime, they spend another 2 episodes searching inside Boo before finding them. While it is basically pointless, I quite enjoy the wacky world inside Majin Boo. It's another aspect that sets him apart from other villains. If he's wacky and unpredictable and magical on the outside, why wouldn't he likewise be on the inside? It breaks up the long string of fights suffocating this area of the story by adding some fun adventures instead. It's great to see Goku and Vegeta presented with obstacles beyond simply a punchy strong guy. And it gives them plenty of opportunities to interact in entertaining ways. There are magic school bus levels of digestion shenanigans. When a family of talking worms confront them, we learn Vegeta's greatest fear. It turns out they're nicer than they look. Then they encounter creepy, silent phantoms of Gohan and the others who attack. They seem invincible, but are ultimately defeated in a wonderfully anticlimactic way. See, Boo has been living it up after seemingly defeating his nemesis, while up until this point he's been flexing, literally, over the power all these absorptions have given him. He heads over to a cake shop for some happy snacks. It turns out all these phantoms are manifestations of his thoughts, so when it's dessert time, these opponents likewise turn into cakes. I definitely could have taken more of this, and less of Vegito. A bit later, when Kaioshin is put in the unenviable position of explaining the retcon that this new Boo is actually the first Boo, his flashback is more than a couple of images embedded in text. In the manga, we only ever see what the Southern Kaioshin and Grand Kaioshin look like. Here, we see them as well as the Northern and Western Kaioshin, and get the vaguest idea of who they were as people. Then everything changed when the Majin Buu attacked. Perhaps even more exciting, we get a design for DBD. Yeah, in the manga he's completely faceless, often talked about but never seen. I like that he's instantly recognizable as Babidi's father, but also totally distinct. It's a cool design. Something I didn't notice until recently is that the lineup of characters for the final battle is actually slightly different between the anime and the manga. There's really only one difference. In the manga, Dende takes the puppy with him when he and the gods leave to wherever they go for safety. But in the anime, he's left behind with Mr. Satan. Not that that changes anything significantly. Even though this is well after the dog gets named Bei in the manga, this is chronologically before that, so Mr. Satan takes to calling him Wan-chan or Bark-chan during later bits of the arc. Lunch is back. Yeah, during the Genki-Dama collection montages, other characters who didn't make it into the manga version appear here. Some of its additions raise questions as far as I'm concerned. Tenshinhan and Chaozu only give energy when Goku asks for it? Not for Vegeta? I mean, I guess that tracks. I don't trust him either, but that's still a rather self-defeating length to go to hold on to a grudge. Namu, Giran, and Uranai Baba's fighters are also added, but they don't contribute until Mr. Satan asks. Why? You'd think they would trust Goku. But yeah, for me the most exciting cameo is the return of Lunch, who drives some sort of food truck? It looks like it says Lunch Express. While number 17 and number 8 fully return with voices and Bora seems to be recast, Lunch doesn't get to talk at all. She just sorta exhales. I highly doubt they brought back Koyama Mami for that. She certainly isn't credited for it, so they probably just used whatever female performer they had on hand that week to pretend to be her. So yeah, it's not the reunion I would have hoped for, but it's still nice to see her. The expanding of the Genki-Dama sequence also creates this oddity. In the manga, Gohan and the others come back to life where they died. They give their energy there. We don't really see them again until Goku and the others return to the temple, where they already are. So at some point we don't see, they go up there. In the animated version, after they give their energy but realize that others won't, Piccolo recommends they fly around and try to convince others to no avail. It's cute enough, especially how everyone flees from Piccolo. Hey, looks like filler people have better memories than the real ones. In the next episode, after Mr. Satan gets the rest of the population to donate Genki, Piccolo and the others decide to head back to the Heavenly Realm. There we get our emotional, oh, so Gohan was actually alive after all reunion scene. This is all fine, but apparently the next episode missed that part, so when we see them again, they're back down on the ground, Perhaps still trying to spread the word of the Goku to non-believers. Whoops. The TV series tries to inject a little more drama to the end of the fight. In the manga, when the characters realize Goku doesn't have enough energy left to properly launch the Genkidama, Dende has the idea to use the last wish on the Dragon Balls. Here, Vegeta, in true Vegeta fashion, demands they take more energy from the people. Who cares if they die? They're not me! Yep, the only plan Vegeta ever has is to murder people. Why did we bring him back to life again? Kaio argues against this, but Vegeta insists on pressuring Mr. Satan to reach out to the Earthlings again. Ultimately, though, Mr. Satan refuses to do anything to hurt the people. Vegeta reminds him they still have the third wish to bring them back. And that's what reminds him that maybe there's a better option to save the Earth that doesn't involve destroying it. It's cool, but not that important. It's nice to see Mr. Satan stand up to Vegeta, but he's going to do that again in regards to Fat Boo. And this is really just a repeat of Piccolo's impossible choice earlier in the story, except that Vegeta treats it more like a toddler not getting his favorite toy, instead of a moral conundrum. It definitely reminds me of the time he tried to threaten Dende into granting his wish back when he was, a villain. The series is already at a disadvantage trying to convince me that Vegeta deserves a happy ending, so we don't really need this. But it is a nice character culmination to see Mr. Satan, the Great Deceiver, choose to protect the people. After the battle with Boo, the series throws in one final fully filler episode. Everyone's having a party at Capsule Corporation. Where's Goku? Why, he's off playing midwife to a family of dinosaurs, keeping their eggs safe. It is as fluffy an episode as they come, but it is a cute little final moment to just relax with the cast. It's also the last time Yamcha gets a speaking role. Goten gets to pay homage to his dad's wardrobe choices. Oh, and these last episodes mark the return of the name Mount Paozu to the main series for the first time in a few years. I certainly can't forget that. Again. The ending has some changes and expansions as well. Trunks spends more time at Gohan's house, as the exposition that had been conveyed through narration is now spoken by the cast or demonstrated through things like this wedding photo of Gohan and Videl. Goku and Pan have a bonding montage at the tournament. Nock apparently exits the tournament twice, once when Vegeta knocks him out, and again when he and Captain Chicken fly the coop upon witnessing Goku's and Oob's fight. A montage of the tournament after Goku leaves shows Pan beating Goten, which implies that Goten beat Mr. Boo. Hey, good for him. And Pan freaking out when Goku leaves combined with those heartwarming bonding scenes do little more than make Goku look like an even bigger jerk for abandoning her. Honestly, the end of Dragon Ball Z sucks. And you've already heard me talk about the end of Dragon Ball, so you might be saying, but this is the same thing. Why are you so hard on it now? See, I wonder if most people who don't like the end of the series have only seen it instead of read it. The difference between the two is that Dragon Ball's ending is an open ending. Dragon Ball Z's version is no ending at all. All the important diegetic elements are the same. Goku meets Oob. They fly off. The animated version, however, cuts out all of the non-diegetic elements that are meant to make us feel things. It doesn't have the reintroduction of the cast page. It doesn't have Goku looking back on his first meeting with Bluma. There is no final cast shot with a huge "the end," or a message from the author thanking us for following the journey. The narrator doesn't say that we'll have to imagine Goku's adventures from here on out. Instead, he just tells Goku to hurry back because, he has to be back for next week's episode. See, I'm not being figurative when I say that Dragon Ball Z is no ending at all. They're very much trying to make sure you know it's not an ending. Goku flies off, commercial break, we come back. It's a preview for Dragon Ball GT, which is going to be airing next week at the same time, so don't go anywhere. And believe me, I get it. I'm in no position to throw stones here. I have been desperately attempting since last December to get you guys to understand that Dragon Ball Dissection is not ending, that it's continuing with Dragon Ball GT next month at the same time. So don't go anywhere. Despite that, I've still had people for months somehow not pick up on that. This year, I have lived the Toei experience. of Dragon Ball ending and the fear that people are going to stop tuning in. Despite that, I tried to make sure the Boo Arc Part 29 appropriately captured the emotion of 10 years of Dragon Ball dissection reaching the end of the original series. I did my best to not let my self-promotion steamroll over that. I certainly hope I succeeded. I tried to learn from Dragon Ball Z's mistake, and this last episode is a mistake. I'm sorry, but it is. Go read the manga instead. It still might not be what you want an ending to be, but it is definitely better than this. That brings us to the end of the Majin Buu arc, although I know there are countless other details I could talk about too. Case in point, this seemingly endless collection of videos is coming from someone who is looking increasingly like the punk who ruined Pon's ice cream. Yeah, you see it. I know you see it. I created DBD TV to compare Dragon Ball as it was adapted into a TV series. And Dragon Ball GT is not that. I mean, yes, it certainly is a TV series, but it's not an adaptation. It's not a repeat of stories we've covered before, so I'm not going to be jumping around talking about random points of interest like I do here. It will be covered in the same style and detail in which I covered the original Dragon Ball. Because of that, I need to remember that last episode of DBZ lesson again. While Dragon Ball Dissection will continue, this is the final episode of DBD TV. It has been a balm to me over the years, as I have made my way through the series, always looking forward. It's been fun to know I always get to revisit arcs once more later down the road, usually a couple of years after I covered them the first time. I always enjoyed painstakingly finding or compositing animated equivalents to recreate my old intros frame by frame. Like the TV version of the series itself, DBD TV was always a fun way to give myself an alternate look at something I love. I'm going to miss it, but now it's time to turn that old television off. Before I go, though, I'll give you something special because a lot of you have been asking for it. It's also special because if the GT debacle taught me anything, it's that most of you aren't watching right now. So if you're still here, congratulations. Shh. Don't tell anybody. I never planned to do a separate scoring system for the animated arcs. At their core, they're still the same stories as in the manga, so it's hard for me to separate out what to give them credit for. The animated versions improve and detract in various ways, but I don't know if I ever believed it was enough to harm or improve that core story substantially enough to move scores around. So please don't put too much stock into this. I'm just having fun. I think the only way to do this is to look at how they function in regards to their unique animated attributes, whatever that means. And I'm just going to do the core arcs. I have no idea how I'd work in standalone filler storylines. This is already complicated enough. Anyway, here we go. Blame it on nostalgia as my first introduction to Dragon Ball. Blame it on its amazing 3-act structure that indoctrinated me to the idea that DB is at its best with a good balance of adventure and fighting. The 10 out of 10 score goes to the Saiyan arc. The Red Ribbon Army arc gets the 9. I don't agree with many others that its filler causes the story to drag. I think it's still great. 8 continues to be the 22nd Budokai, 7 is still Hunt for the Dragon Balls, and 6 is still 21st Budokai. They all add a lot of good stuff, so it balances out. Bumped up to 5, though, is the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai arc. It's not really that it does anything significantly better than its manga counterpart. It's just other things are worse. Getting another boost is the Piccolo Daimao arc, which now gets a score of 4. Despite including the stupidest filler scene ever, it does succeed in turning its main power-up into something far less redundant, and it shows the effects of Piccolo on the people far greater than the manga. Getting another bump is the Majin Buu arc, which now holds a score of 3. The arc is still an uneven mess, but it looks gorgeous and contains some of my favorite episodes, improving on the manga in several key ways. Getting bumped down is Cell, which is now a 2. It's not really worse than its manga counterpart, it's just that Piccolo and Boo might be better unless you ask me tomorrow, and then it might change. So that leaves the Frieza arc to fall to the 1 score. It has the same unevenness as its manga counterpart. Its first half is pretty good, and its second half is pretty But this version complements that second half with awful pacing and less than stellar art to boot. Obviously, it still has the merits of the Frieza storyline, of which there are plenty, but something has to take the bottom score, so might as well be the one that almost broke the production pipeline. So that's my fun little, not at all binding, mostly off the cuff, redistribution of scores for the animated version. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time for the beginning of a new era of Dragon Ball Dissection. And now, it's time to turn that old television off.